it's Jo here from Creative Empowerment. Thank you for joining me today. Today we're taking a really deep dive. We're doing shadow self. So we're really going to look at what the shadow self wants to talk to you about, what it wants you to know. So this pick a card is delving into the shadowy realms of our own person, our own personality. And what is the shadow self? The shadow self is the part of you that you don't want to see. The shadow self is the part of you that you hide. The shadow self is the part of you that may show up when you're scared or frightened or angry or out of control, or, you know, all of those extreme parts of yourself. So we want to have a look at what our shadow self is trying to communicate to us, because often it's a part of us that feels unheard. And I really love working on energy healing, and part of that for me is working on things like the inner child, like the last video. And if you haven't seen that already, you might want to go and check that out. I'll put a link in the description box below. And this one here is all about the shadow. What is the shadow part of you trying to express to you? What does it want you to be aware of and to know, so that you can heal it? That's what we really want to do. We want to integrate it into ourselves and to allow it in. And often it could be that it is our inner child, having a bit of a rant and a rave. Rambled enough as I have. So I have 3 piles in front of me. I have pile number 1, pile number 2, and pile number 3. If you'd like some more help choosing these piles, I'll place some crystals on now. And they are all hearts. When you know which pile is drawing you, you can go ahead to your reading or readings. And as always, please like, share and subscribe to my channel if you're so interested and inclined. And I'll see you in your reading. Hi there, pile number 1. If you chose the blue calcite heart, then this is your shadow self reading. And this is the message from your shadow self. So we have the bone collector in the reverse. We have the living light library, see the beauty in life. We have the eagle reverse, which is spirit, integrity, connection to the angelic realm, in the reverse. Now, when all these cards came out in the reverse, I actually had to check the butterfly, beauty, that the whole deck wasn't reversed, but it wasn't. Birth and rebirth, and that's it for that card. So these are, you've got 4 out of 5 cards come out in the reverse form. Now, my head's going a little bit spinning a bit at the moment, and I am just recalling that when I was shuffling your pile, I heard a lot of negative self-talk to myself. So I just want to put that out there before we get started, that I feel like part of your shadow self might be a very, very critical, nasty self-talk regime, that you may have inherited that or learnt that from somebody at some point, and you have kept it going. So I feel like you have a very, very negative, critical self-talk. And that is definitely part of your shadow. It is a part of you that is very critical and has extremely high standards, and I really understand that. And the first card that you have, which is the bone collector being in the reverse, really tells me that too. Because the bone collector, when she's in the upright, she knows she has everything she needs. She is self-sufficient. She has all her things around her. She has her, she has her own magical skills. She can bend time. She has animal spirits and animal medicine there to support her. She has light language around her. All her psychic senses are opened up. She is that sort of magician from the tarot. She is in a very positive form. She has everything she needs to manifest what she wants in her life. She doesn't need anybody else to help her. And this message coming in the reverse is very much about your shadow self, being a very wounded part of you that does not believe that you are anything like this, which makes me feel very sad. And I feel quite connected to this group already before I've even started. I feel like a lot of the messages that you've had through your childhood, and perhaps in other ways too, sporting groups, whatever it is that you tried hard at, I think that you were always trying very, very hard. And even if you had messages that were really supportive, you only ever listened to the critical ones, because that's what you've been. It's like you've got a dial and you're fine-tuned to this criticism dial. I feel very, very off balance and off center, and I feel like you're pushing yourself all the time, pushing, because there is no one looking after this lovely, the soft side of you, because you can't actually you don't feel like you can show the softer side of yourself, because you feel like you're constantly waging a war with criticism outside of yourself, when in fact the criticism is probably coming more so from the inner part of you, the shadow self. And you've picked blue calcite heart, and the blue calcite is such a calming stone, but it's also the words self-reciprocity are coming, which I would never have said, but it's about giving to the self. And I feel that that's such an important thing for you. Your shadow self is highlighting these things for you so that you're aware of it and that you can heal it. This is about seeing the beauty in life, and see how the tree is growing amidst that, what looks like a city. It's to show you that even in the midst of what looks like a shitty situation, the most amazing things can grow. And you are one of those amazing things. You may have had some shitty situations. You may have grown up in some shitty situations. You may have been involved in shitty situations. However, you are not of that ilk. You are the amazingness that is growing within you. And now my right eye, it could be your left eye. My right eye is going all blurry and I can't see. Because you don't want to see. You don't want to see the beauty that is within. We have two cards here talking about beauty, and one is in the reverse and the other one is talking about a blossoming of light that you can't even imagine that would be a part of you. But it's really funny, because even though I've just said that, part of you actually knows that's true, and that's why you're here. Part of you knows that to be true, and part of you is waiting for that to come out. Again, my eyes all blurry. The butterfly and beauty being reversed. You don't see your own beauty, and you don't see how it's going to come, how that possibly could come in your life, because you're very, very stuck in the self-criticism, not believing in yourself, and only ever identifying with the critical voice, whether that's from you and you do a very good job of it, or whether it's outside of yourself. Because even when someone says something that could be deemed a positive, or something, what do you call it? Can't think of the word. When someone says something like, oh, you look beautiful today, or your skin looks lovely, or whatever, you will see that as them, you'll see it as something else. You won't see the positive and the beauty in it. And this is a very entrenched belief for you. Your shadow self is asking you to see it differently. And they want you to see it from the spirit realm, from the angels, there could be quite a strong link actually to angels in this group as well. It's not angelite, but it kind of looks a bit like it. You've got the strong blue colour here, which I do associate with the angels, that sort of, that really light phosphorescence, I don't even know how to say it, sort of blue, like it's that light that cuts through everything. But it feels like you're being asked to take a very different perspective of your life. Now, it's really funny, because as soon as I said that, it's like I can hear your negative talk in my head. As soon as I said that, it's like, well, you don't have to. Of course you don't have to. You don't have to listen to anything that I'm saying. You don't have to listen to your shadow self. You constantly do, but you don't. But your shadow self actually has a different message. It's not that critical self-talk, which is your most all-persuasive version of shadow. It is the one that you haven't been able to escape. And I feel like it is your only one, to be perfectly honest. You may feel like you have more, and this is a group reading, so that's possible. But this is the most all-pervasive in your life. It's like, you know, the bone collector is sitting within a circle. She's got all these circles around her because it's kind of like, it's something that keeps you contained. The shadow self, or the shadow talk, the self-critical talk keeps you contained, keeps you going round and round in circles. And it's getting up and out of this, and perhaps asking for help from Spirit, which we've got more cards from Spirit, so we'll ask that, or we'll get that information in a minute, to be able to see the beauty, to be able to see your actual worth. Because what this card tells me here and what this card tells me here is that there is so much light within, but you don't want to see it. Now, when I say you don't want to see it, it may be that you've been conditioned not to see it. But there is a birth and a rebirth coming here. So this card here is talking about a change, and a big change. And the tree in this card has a shadow, and within the shadow grows another tree. You may not be able to see that, but it's showing me that, and it's very much this tree growth here, that there's a lot of growth happening within you. It's quite a painful growth, but there is a lot of growth happening within you at this time. And there is quite a lot of things that you don't see that are sort of working through, and I feel it's very heart-based for you. I do. I feel it's really about the heart, because it's about self-healing, it's about self-worth and healing your self-worth. So I'm going to bring in the cards that have come from, the first one was your higher self. Just trying to remember what I did now. So the higher self. Wow, these are some really great cards. So these are messages from your higher self about your shadow self. So the moon is here. The moon is all about secrets. It's about the shadow self. It seriously is. But the moon comes up to show us that the shadow that we're looking at, you know, it's showing up as this big thing, you know, inside that big illuminated moon. There is this big shadow, and that is how we see the shadow, but it's not how we need to see the shadow. It's not that objective reality of what the shadow part of the self is. The shadow part of the self is the part that we're keeping caged. It's the bit we don't want to let out. However, because we keep it in a cage, it gets out, and it can be, you know, really harmful to our lives. The moon here is talking to you about illuminating the shadow self so that you can see what it is and what it has to teach you. The Wheel of Fortune is showing me some great cards here from your higher self. The Wheel of Fortune is telling me that it's like the end of this cycle. We've got rebirth here. We've got a 10. We've got another 10. So some really great energies moving. We've got 9s, and we've got 2 lots of 25s, which turn into 7s. And a 17. So this idea of the Wheel of Fortune, something is coming to an end for you. And it could be that this idea of the self-critical part of you ruling you is coming to an end, because the next card is the beautiful 10 of Pentacles, which is all about, you know, having it all, really. You know, it's a completion of a cycle. So you've got 2 completions of a cycle, one on a very karmic scale. So one about, you know, things that you have needed to know to get through a stage of life, and the other one more on the physical plane. So, there's a lot of echoing, just hearing echoing. So this physical plane one, it often talks about families and generational wealth. it doesn't feel like it's talking about that to me here in this card and in this way. This feels like your higher self talking to you about what you can achieve when you allow yourself to see the good in your life, when you allow yourself to see all that you bring. Because this is a 1 and a 0, and the 0 is infinite potential. So this is the 1 from the bone collector, the magician, that has everything, and then the 0, which is infinite potential. So this card for me is telling me a lot about where you're going. Your higher self knows where you're going. Your higher self knows that this shadow aspect of you is showing up to be healed, not to torture you. That's just what it's been doing up until now. Now, the last message here is the sow reversed. Now, the sow reversed, I'm going to turn it up so I can actually see it. The sow is usually talking about abundance and about gratitude and about getting all your needs met, because it's that mothering energy, someone taking care of you. Now, the sow in the reverse is talking more about, it's talking about you not seeing yourself as you are. The sow is talking about your self-esteem. The sow is talking about you not believing in yourself, not believing that you are all the things that you need yourself to be. Now, this is your message from your guides, and your guides want you to know that your life has much more in it than either beauty alone, than making things seem right from the outside, making appearances. It's about appearances. Appearances aren't everything. And when it's reversed, it's talking about that out of balance, because perhaps the things that you're wanting to do in your life are more about keeping up appearances with other people rather than what it is you really need to do for you. So instead of beating yourself up because you're not, showing up on Instagram perfectly or whatever it might be, or that you don't feel like you've got your life together because everybody else on Instagram and Facebook and any other type of social media does, realizing that none of it's real, and that part of you not showing up in that way is it's not about that for you. You're not that type of person. You're a more real person. What I mean by that is the way that you show up in the world, you may put yourself down and you may be very self-critical of it. But it's about accepting who you are and what you are, and knowing that if you're looking at things that you can't keep up with, it really feels like social media to me. I don't really know why. But if you're looking at what everybody else is doing and trying to, that's how you want your life to be, you can see where I've got my hands. It's here, yeah? And it's a lower vibration. Whereas your guides want you to lift up, because above that are the beautiful fields of wheat and the beautiful vista, and it's calm and it's spacious and it's connected to spirit. And this is what I'm feeling from this card, is that they don't want you to be down here in this area here where everyone compares each other, and everyone compares whether they're beautiful or whether they're not beautiful, whether they've got the right home furnishings or the right lipstick or whatever those things are, because you can tell that I'm not in with that, all that stuff. But for you, they're saying that your life is not about that either, and that your worth is much more about who you are inside than what you appear to be on the outside. But I feel like perhaps you've been looking at the wrong things, and it's time to look within, because this beating yourself up, the shadow self is teaching you the lesson that you're worth much, much more than what the outside persona either shows the world or, presents to the world. Everything within you is so much more important and so much more worthy than you realise. But because you've been using this other lens that other people have given you, and you've adopted and taken on and, carried like the cross on your back, you can't see that. But your spirit guides and your higher self want you to know that there is massive change and ending out of cycles here for you. Your shadow self is a voice of protecting you in a way. And when you start seeing that, you'll actually be closer to to sort of moving on from beyond this negative self-talk. Thank you so much for being here today, Pile 1. I really appreciate it. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel for more readings like this. And if you'd like to delve more into what sort of spiritual and energy healings through pick cards, please let me know in the comments below. Bye for now. Thanks for being here. Hi there, Pile 2. If you picked the pink heart, which is a African river stone that has been shaped and painted, then this is your reading today. And I feel very nervous in my voice as I'm about to start talking to you, which I don't really understand. I don't know why my voice is feeling very nervous, but I have this nervous energy coming up inside me. Now, the first thing I'm noticing here is that you have a lot of animals in the first 4 cards for you. Feeling very lightheaded or dizzy as well. So the first card over here, we have the stag, which is about pride and leadership. We have also the horse, which is about freedom and accepting help from another, delegating authority. So we have really 2 very opposing sort of cards there, and they're both very strong, active animals. And one is about your pride and the other one is about, realizing that there are times when you may need help. Then we have mindful wisdom, create inner harmony with an owl, very wise animal. And then we have magic prayer in the reverse. Now the magic prayer card is actually the first card, but I was guided to put these cards in this particular order. So the message that I'm getting here is that part of your shadow self is a very stubborn part of your personality. It's very strong, very active too. So very much comes out quite frequently, is what I want to say. Pile 2. But it feels like it's your shadow self actually doesn't feel like part of you that you push down. You actually allow this freedom to roam, and I like that. I like that you actually allow that the part of you that might be a little bit proud, a little bit stubborn, a little bit aggressive. I've got this feeling of aggression, even though none of these cards are really showing me aggression. I feel like you might be someone who, if someone pokes you with a stick, you come straight back at them. You don't let them poke you twice. You're straight in. And I feel that serves you quite well. So I feel like your shadow self has quite a lot of liberation. It's quite free within you. And I feel that that's a really good thing. I feel like it does your head in a bit because you can't control it. And it's like you'd like to put it behind you. But at the moment, it's not ready to be contained, really, is the way I want to put it. This magic prayer card, there's this energy that's moving at the back of the throat, the back of the neck. And that can be a way for guides and angels and other energies to get in. For listening to clairvoyance and also to speak, like channeling, or not that you don't have to be any of these things, but this is it's a psychic avenue. It's like a back door. It's called the jade pillow in Chinese medicine. It's below that, but this is the message that I'm getting. And I feel like there's a lot of spiritual energy that actually wants to come through, and I feel like the candle just went very silent and very still then. And I feel like, the word is you're suppressing it and not allowing it, which is partially due to the anger, the suppression of other things, probably from childhood, has caused the anger. but it's the suppression of the spiritual energies coming through that is, it's like causes intense bouts, and this can range from bits of depression to anger to anxiety. You know, it's like this real roller coaster ride for you. But it's like you're not ready to surrender to this. And that is, I feel, because you already have this very, very, well, the word is hostile, but I wouldn't go that far, but that's the word I'm being told to use. There's this hostility, inner hostility within you. So you're frightened that if you allow spirit, or if you allow, the full capacity of whatever wants to come through the throat chakra out, that it will be too much for you and too much for those people around you. However, there is this part of you that you're not seeing, and this feels like a shadow part of you that you don't identify with terribly much. Good use of the English language there. But this mindful wisdom, this inner harmony, this is a part of you that you're not tapping into, and this is a part of your shadow self that you have some fear about. And perhaps that is because you've been brought up religious or whatever, but you see that this idea of spirit and listening to spirit, or this idea of surrendering to a message, or surrendering to a higher power, or whatever it is, creates some fear for you, and therefore I feel like you're blocking it. You're blocking that aspect within you. So let's have a look at what else we've got, other information. Now this information is coming from your higher self. Wow, that's interesting. So we have the Three of Pentacles reversed, we have the Star reversed, and we also have the Nine of Pentacles in the upright position. Now I'm just going to place these a little bit differently because they came out, this came out one, and then these two came out together. So I feel like you are really resisting collaborating with spirit. That there is actually a divine, the word is counterpart, which is not a word I actually use. Divine counterpart either coming for you. So this could be a relationship for some of you. That's not what I would have thought looking at the cards. However, the word that I was asked to use is counterpart. Now that could be a business counterpart. That could be something in your life that becomes a juxtaposition for you. You know, something that there is this sort of pinging off. That's sort of how I'm feeling about it. However, at the moment, you're really not wanting to play. Now, I'm not sure if this is the way you have been in your whole life, and I don't feel like it is. I feel like this is situational. So I feel like you have got to this situation after perhaps you've had repeated what you're calling failures, and that's your shadow self talking to you. You know, it's like that. We need to learn lessons from things. It's not because we can't do something. It's because we're not seeing the gift of that particular thing. So it could be that you have worked for several people and that you can't hold on to whatever it is you want to say. You just open your mouth and it comes out, and you put your foot right in your mouth. Or it could be that you can't follow working for someone. There's this real strong, anti-leadership thing here, because you're such a strong person and you're very good at knowing what it is that you want and how you want to express yourself into the world. But you're not very good at accepting help from other people. And I feel like there's this problem with top-down authority, which means you don't play well, in groups or in collaborative events. So it feels to me here very much like you are a person that your shadow self is telling you that if all of these things aren't working, learn the lesson of it. The lesson is that perhaps you're going to be better suited working for yourself or working for someone else who you see like this is that divine counterpart idea, someone else that you see as an equal, your equal, so that you know, in business partnership or something like that. And my head is quite sore now that I've mentioned that, because it's kind of like, that's a way to bring this into balance for you, and your head is not necessarily there yet. It's kind of like, I don't know if that fits, I don't know if that fits. But this idea of collaborating and working in a big team for you doesn't feel like the right way to go. And this is that message again, that you may have been getting this message for a very, very long time. I feel for a lot of you, this is probably going back to when you're at school, probably teenage years, but mostly late teenage years and upwards, where you've been told by spirit, but you haven't been listening, and you've thought that this is a bad thing about you, and it is not a bad thing about you. This shadow part of you is being vocal and speaking up because it's not right for you. So your shadow self is actually something that you want to integrate. You actually allow your shadow out, which a lot of people don't. So I think that's wonderful, pile 2. But you're here to be a leader, and you're here to listen to this other spirit element that you have going on, this mindful wisdom, and it will bring an inner harmony when you actually listen. Now, the next 2 cards, we have the star reversed, which is, it can be a card of, you know, your star rising, and then we have the 9 of Pentacles. So 2 cards here that talk about you perhaps receiving or being very well known for what it is that you do choose to do in the world, and another card saying that you're very, very self-reliant and that you can do it all on your own. So I talked about a partner, and maybe the partner's not the right thing for you, and maybe the partner is in life and that partner helps you, you know, balance in that way. But the star is in the reverse because there is still some work for you to do before you're able to achieve this success that is coming for you, pile 2. And it is more of when you allow, it's like when you're allowing your emotions to thaw out, because there's snow here and there's snow here. So this it's water, but it's frozen water, so it's not allowed to move, it's not allowed to flow. And that pride and that leadership, you know, pride comes before a fall. So it's that type of, it's all behind you, you know, this excess emotion, this excess, this way of you being in the world. What I mean by that, it sounds very strange, I know. What I'm getting at is your way of being in the world, there is nothing wrong with it. It is suited to you. You may have been told by many, many people, which is why your shadow self is still there, and it feels wide to me, okay? It feels like it's not concentrated and over your shoulder and like this. It's out there and it's wide, and you feel like it's quite big, okay? You feel like it's something that you carry around with you as you're moving through life. Which, like the stag's horns, actually, you know, they're really quite large, and, you know, everywhere you go, you're bringing this shadow self with you. And the thing about it is that your shadow self is trying to cover up all of the hurt and at being who you are, because your shadow self knows that there's nothing wrong with you. That's what the spirit messages are coming to you, is that there's nothing wrong with you. There's this sense of creating inner harmony. You felt like you couldn't do it because you are antagonistic at times, because you fight for yourself, because you stand up for yourself. And I'm feeling a lot of emotion coming up now. None of those things are bad, and none of those things are wrong. And here's that quivering in my voice again, because your ability to stand up for yourself is amazing. And it doesn't mean that you're not frightened inside, because I'm feeling your fear. I'm feeling this fear that you have. This fear of, will you be enough? And this fear of, can I really make it in what I want to do? You can. You absolutely can. The star wouldn't show up. It's in the reverse to show me that the emotions at the moment are too high and that it's not yet the time to break through, but it's coming, and it will be a success. Whatever it is that you're bringing into this world will be a success for you. These frozen emotions, these things that you haven't been able to deal with, it's time to start letting spirit help you with those. Your higher self wants you to know that they see all of this and that they are helping you. You may see signs of butterflies, and that'll be a sign for you that you're starting to transform. Now, the fear that is actually behind the aggression, part of it is accepting that it's there, and that might be really hard. Like my whole body feels like, I feel like I've got things welling up in my eyes. But this idea of keeping it frozen, it doesn't help anybody, least of all you. And the shadow self, when it comes out and stamps its foot and yells and screams, the shadow self is kind of letting the dam break every now and then. But when the dam doesn't need to break anymore, it won't be out here. It'll actually just be supportive, either side of you. It'll know when is the right time to use the aggression, when is the time to stamp the foot. Now, our last card for you, is Adder. Oh, fabulous card, which is transformation. Now, this card is from your spirit guides. So this was your higher self, this was your shadow self, and this is your spirit guides. And your spirit guides are giving you a card all about transformation. So the adder is a snake, and a snake can shed its skin. It is a fire animal, so as in fire spirit animal. So you have an amazing amount of animal spirit energy around you. So that's something you may want to have a further look at. Now the adder here is, my eyes are all changing and things like that. And I'm really getting this idea about ancient energy coming in for you. There is, I can't think of what they're called, but the little prehistoric things, enemites, and enemites, I don't know how to say the names. You might want to have a look those up too. Enemites, enemite. I'll try and put it in the comments. But the snake here, the snake is looking up at spirit, and I feel like when you're connected to spirit, you're going to allow all of this to integrate, because the snakes are intertwining. Okay, so this idea of shedding old skin, which is a great one for you, and holding your head up high, but knowing that you're doing it. And again, I did talk about that divine counterpart, and we have two snakes here who are entwined, that they're helping each other, supporting each other. Which makes me think of the medical caduceus. So just putting that out there, no other message there. There is also a labyrinth here, which you may or may not be able to see. And the labyrinth symbol is talking about that going within different worlds. So the adder is also talking about birth and rebirth. I don't know if I said that earlier. And the labyrinth is also a symbol about that. It's about finding a way through to the other side, but then it's coming back again. So I feel that's very important, that you're finding the way to the other side, because I feel like your shadow self might take you there. To the brink is how I'm saying it, is how I want to say it, but that's an interpretation, not a reality. And I just felt everything drop then, because what may happen is you will feel that you are on the brink of a breakdown, a breakthrough, whatever you want to call it, a mental health issue, whatever, whatever it is. And I feel that that's not what that will be. I feel that you'll take something to the brink because it's done with. And when you take it to the brink and realize that's all that there is, and that you can come back from it, that'll be a very, very powerful moment for you and for your shadow self. And you'll be able to integrate that shadow self within the one, which is that beautiful rebirth. I've loved this reading for you. I hope you've enjoyed it. I feel like you're a really strong person, and I know that that you're going to do some great things. and you will anyway, but if you can integrate your shadow self, it's like you'll have a lovely rebirth. Lovely. She says lovely. It could be quite painful. I don't mean that. What I mean is that, you know, when we're going through a death, it's not a pretty or pain. It's not a painless thing. There are lessons for us to learn, and how we learn the lessons sometimes is dependent upon how we go into it. All right, I shall stop moralizing or whatever you call it. But I do want to thank you for being here today and for joining me and having the guts to have a look at your shadow self. And your shadow self, your higher self, and your guides all want to thank you and cheer you on and tell you that you are here to do amazing things. Thanks for being here. Please give it a big thumbs up. Please like, share, and subscribe if you're not already. Bye for now. Hi there, pile 3. If you chose the Rainbow Obsidian, this is your reading. Now, the Rainbow Obsidian is Rainbow Obsidian is a crystal that is very fiery, very quick, acting, very protective too. So you've got the darkest cards. It doesn't mean that it's going to be the darkest message, but I'm just pointing that out there. There's a lot of sort of mercurial, deep, dark energy happening here. And it could be that you're actually experiencing a dark night of the soul currently, presently, or that you're experiencing your shadow self in a very extreme way at this time. Now, the message that I'm getting from this is that you are going through a very transformative time. I haven't even mentioned the cards yet because this energy is very much, it's at the surface and bubbling up and boiling over. You have the Golden Palace in the reverse, which has what looks like either the first or the last part of the new, it looks like the new moon to me, just after the new moon, but it could be the opposite. You have the Dark Night of the Soul, as I mentioned, which is an 11. And then you have expansion, which is this almost as if something is, you know, ripping the world apart, coming out of the womb. You know, so there could be this birthing happening for you. We have the Water Fairy and we have Merlin in the reverse. So we don't have a lot of watery energy. Some of the other groups have had a lot of water energy. You do not. Yours is very combustible. It's very fiery. Very much, it feels elemental, which is exactly the way this stone is formed from a volcano. And that exactly is very much what I'm feeling. I'm feeling, you know, the depths of despair are coming up. But I don't have a lot of emotion attached to that. So I feel that's really strange, but I'm going to say what I'm getting. But I feel like something in your life is really cracking open, really breaking open, and you may feel like the Dark Night of the Soul. It's a number 11, so it's a master number. So at this point in time, your shadow self may be front and center, maybe pushing for much more acknowledgement. And it feels like you're healing a wound from, you know, almost birth, and it could be birth. It could be that you're... yeah, it does. It feels like a birth trauma. Now, that could mean a lot of different things. That could be from the physical element of being born. That could be from being born in this lifetime. That could be being born into the family that you were born into. Or that could be you giving birth to something else, either another human or a business or whatever. So there's a lot of different ways that this could be happening in your life, or, you know, relating in your life. I feel like at the moment your life is a little bit topsy-turvy, and that's a very light-hearted way of saying it. Your life is turned upside down because something within your world it's like a button has been pressed, and it's like, instead of it just going along like this, it's like, no, actually, bang, we've got to put this on its head so that this gets sorted out, so this gets worked through. The Dark Night of the Soul, you may be someone who is stepping out on the spiritual path and understanding, you know, coming to some understandings that things aren't as they seemed, that there are sort of darker agendas going on in the world, whatever. It can be different things for different people. It can be that you realise in your life something that you thought was true is not true within a family relationship, etc. There is an element of feelings and emotions coming to the surface, but they feel, well, I got the message that they feel trapped because they're quite flat here and you've got your back to them. So it's like you don't want to acknowledge them just yet. And then we have Merlin in the reverse. And Merlin in the reverse talks about alchemy, justice, and balance. And it has a very strong dragon energy in here. And it's all this sort of moody midnight kind of energy, which is very strong in these other cards. So your shadow self, I feel like, is making itself known, and there's not one specific way. Some of the other groups have had very specific ways that their shadow self was talking, wanted to be expressed. Other than saying it's something that's come from a birthing situation, there's no other tangible way of communicating to you. So it could be showing up in many different ways for a lot of you. It's a lot to do with the roots of your life, and I don't even understand that message, so I'll leave that as it is, and it's for you to figure it out, how it sits in your life. Something that was hidden from you was in the dark is definitely being illuminated, and it's teaching you a very, very strong lesson. And you might be thinking, yeah, like you might be swearing at me, don't know, but the shadow self is being illuminated now, and it's like you aren't able to look away, and that's also like gives me that element of force, like there's a train wreck and you have to keep looking because you have to see what happens. So I'm going to bring in the messages from your higher self. Okay. So we have the Empress in the reverse, the Chariot in the reverse. We have the Four of Swords in the reverse, and we have the Seven of Pentacles in the upright. Now this is from your higher self, these messages here. So again, I'm feeling that birth idea from the Empress in the reverse. So I'm feeling that that there's a message coming from a time in your life that is around birth. And like I said, it's going to be different for many people because this is a group reading, because the idea of birth can mean many, many different things. But this message is coming back to you from that period to learn the lesson that has not yet been learnt, which is why the dark night of the soul is coming up. So the shadow self comes up into our lives when we need to, when we need to learn a lesson from part of ourselves that we've cordoned off. I feel like you may have sectioned off a part of your life. You've wanted to put it behind you. You thought that you were going to be able to put a wall up and not have it come into your life. And what's happening right now in your life is showing you that you're not capable. It's not that you're not capable of it. That was the words that were going to come out. And I realized it's got nothing to do with what you're capable of. It's not meant to. The Chariot in reverse, the Chariot talks about fast, quick moving action, and often about, I'm feeling quite a lot of heat coming up through my body here. Swift action, and it's normally the right action. And in reverse, I feel like this is riding roughshod. So at the moment, whatever's coming up is probably really demanding attention in your life. It is not allowing you to rest, and that's, that whole night of the dark soul, the dark night of the soul. It is demanding your attention. It is keeping you up at night. It is, however that is showing up, it's disruptive and it's forceful. However, again, two energies that really come up with this. It's volcanic, it's explosive, it's fiery. And here we have the Four of Swords. And the Four of Swords here could be talking about rest and recuperation, But I also think there is another message here, and it is don't die on your sword. And what that means is this person is really alert, even if they're lying down. It's not a person, it's a crow, but the crow's not resting. The crow's on alert and ready to jump up and attack, waiting for these people to come and attack it, the 3 other swords there. And I feel like whatever this thing is that's showing up in your life at the moment, you're not able to rest, nor do you want to. And I don't know if that's the right type of energy for you. I feel like you're being very protective. There's a nest there and someone's protecting, what they have. And, I understand that you may feel like you need to protect yourself and whatever it is, your family, or your belongings and your possessions. I feel like there is a force happening within your life that I feel like there's a need for surrendering into some of this. It doesn't mean surrendering to all of it and giving up. It's not about giving up, but it's about, oh God, that echoing again. It's about learning the lesson that's showing up, instead of blocking off part of your life, instead of trying to put your emotions aside, instead of trying to push things down, instead of saying, oh, I'll be okay soon if I can just get a little bit of rest. I'll be okay if I can put everything down below me and I can sit on top of it and watch vigilantly. It's about understanding that you can't really protect anything in life. You can't even protect yourself, because we can all die at any point. Now, I'm not trying to say those things to be morbid. What I'm trying to say is that if we're always on the defense, if we're always trying to protect ourselves, our loved ones, our, the things in our lives, what sort of life are we living? What sort of life are we creating? And this message here that's coming from this overprotectiveness, this need to protect everything at all costs, that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about, taking precautions. I'm talking about living and dying by the sword, about being so worked up because you have to protect every single thing. There comes a point where you have to realize that this isn't the only way of living. It's about befriending part of yourself, so that you don't feel like you're always needing to protect yourself. Now, this message here is coming from your spirit guides, and it's the seal, right? This is kind of like, this card is on its own in this particular deck. It has a beautiful rainbow. It has the spotted seal. Now, this particular card, it goes through the whole deck, and this is the last card. And it's not like the best card, but it's like, it's a very important card. The seal's call, the seal's noise that it makes was about, it sounds like a wounded human, and people found the sound to be very unnerving. And I feel that there's that wounded part of you that you really need to acknowledge and to heal. Back to this birthing thing, whatever the birthing thing is, there's a very wounded part of you that feels like it needs to be on the defensive, that feels like it needs to protect itself from the rest of the world. And by doing that, you're blocking off so many other types of energies from your life. There's some great cards here that are all in the reverse. The Merlin card, the Golden Palace, the Chalice, the Chariot, and the Empress. And they're all about abundance. They're all about movement forward. They're about knowing who you are and what you're capable of doing. They're about having everything you actually want. And the seal here is telling you that it really is calling out to me that there's a lot of inner child healing work for you to do here. And even though your birthing experience may be a business, perhaps you need to look at what it is about your business that makes you feel like a child, or that you don't feel like you're as experienced as other people, or you feel like you need to defend yourself, or whatever that situation is. Wherever you're defending yourself in life, your shadow self wants you to know that it's crying inside, that it's a very mournful sound that it wants you to hear. That's why you're experiencing this dark night of the soul. You're going through this expansion period because this part of you wants to be healed. This is a really mournful kind of energy. But the other thing is there's a rainbow here. It's so that you understand that this thing you need to feel like you need to protect yourself constantly. You feel like there's a lot of bad luck happening here. There's a lot of things that are out of your control. And part of the waking up process in our spiritual life is realizing that we allow things to happen in our lives because we need that lesson to come to us. When we understand the lesson, we no longer need those outside things. Oops, sorry, Buddha. We don't need those outside situations showing up to teach us a lesson. Your shadow self is drawing like a magnet lessons to you at this point in time. And it feels very much like your inner child needs some healing. Like I said at the beginning of this video, there is also an inner child video. If you would like to have a look at that, I'll put that link in the description box below. Thank you for being here. Thank you for delving into your shadow work. I know it's not easy, it's not pretty, and you may not have liked this message. But thank you for being here until the end. Please give this video a big thumbs up. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you're interested in videos like this. I hope to see you again in the future. Bye for now.